More than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the Hivemind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
Welcome.
On that note, Daniel, let the people know who you are and tell us about Hivemind.
So I am Daniel Martinez. Here's my 30-second spiel. I used to be a truck driver. Used to load trucks with a forklift. Became a truck driver in Atlanta. So I know Atlanta pretty well. And got into real estate after that. And then now I do software, real estate, data, a little bit of everything. PPC leads, a lot of online businesses because I heard the value of replication and scalability. So I'm not in the physical products business. I'm in the digital products business. That's what I do.
That's cool. I think you may be the first owner of a SaaS company. Would you consider that?
It's a SaaS company.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what SaaS is, I'm not talking about, something that talks back to you. SaaS. Software as a service.
Software as a service.
Yep. Tell the folks a little bit about what Hivemind can do for them.
So I love Hivemind because a lot of things that I struggled with when I started getting into business and real estate was my pain points of a CRM. So Hivemind is a CRM and it has emailing, texting, web hosting. Just a new feature that just came out was a course app ability. So you can get on people's phones directly with your own white label app and connect with your audience directly. So we're building more courses and releasing that to that platform to hopefully connect directly to people's phones where they see us top of mind, right in their home screen. And that's the ability of getting in front of people in different ways. Because a lot of people like communicating in certain ways. Like me, if you call me, I'm not answering my phone. It just doesn't even ring because that's the life I live now. But if you contact people through email or text, you're going to reach me better that way. So for everybody trying to call me, I'm just not going to answer the phone. I don't care who you are. So whenever you're doing whatever business you're in, you always have to do multiple forms of marketing to connect with potential whatever business you're looking for and convert that business into money, which is what I do. Where we've had 15 clients at 6-figure months, and we haven't even hit 2 years yet, and all those clients have not been with us 2 years. So we'll we have like 2 or 3 millionaires probably coming up at the same time off our software. So we're excited about that and hopefully making a change in the community and driving good business and good business practices and making a difference, I think is a big thing.
That's cool, man. That's cool. How long has Hivemind been around?
We launched February 2021 during the pandemic. It hasn't even been 2 years yet. We'll hit by the end of the year. We'll hit like $1 million in revenue. So
end of the year. That's like a month and a half. Okay.
Yeah, we're like 860 in gross revenue since we started in February. So it's been a interesting journey, and then we're doing real estate as well. So it's just leveraging that side of it and educating people on the basics of real estate and helping them do bigger deals because that's our niche is. So we're doing $1 million land deals. So we're helping people do that as well with our $1 million mastermind, and it's just helping educate people and doing a lot of good things in the community.
That's cool. Gotta get some SaaS, Charles. Gotta get some SaaS.
The SaaS business. You're muted, Charles. The SaaS business.
I was gonna ask how I can get in. How can I get into the software as a service business?
The technology has changed so much, so much. I think it's just listening to where needs are being fulfilled at. But the craziest thing about Hivemind is I'm not the creator of it. It's just a third party platform that I'm leveraging and built on my own features on top of it. So there's other products and services that you can essentially jump in as a SaaS. I think there's even like there's a guy that he worked for Microsoft, and I don't know his name. I'm sure you can Google him. He literally worked for Microsoft for years, and then eventually started creating Chrome extensions. And he's literally a one-man business selling Chrome extensions at 99 cents, and he's worth millions of dollars just generating revenue off of creating Chrome extensions. Or him working for the job for Microsoft, who knows what they paid him, but now he's leveraging that the coding and creating that replicatable product that you can sell to the masses. Even down to the fact where, like, I read an article yesterday that there's a girl on TikTok who blew up recently, that she's doing 6 figures a day just off of Excel and Google Sheet education and like micro courses. So there's a lot of opportunity out there in the technology space that people are looking for more information, more knowledge. They're looking for stuff they can use to master, whether it's coding or Python or stuff like that. They're looking to master whatever the technology space is. And I think with like Web3 and with crypto, there's a lot of opportunity in that space, especially with like replication and online, which is like a huge thing that wasn't even around 30 years ago, that has opened up for our generation to really leverage this technology.
Yeah, man.
I don't know if you answered my question.
Maybe
I just need them to understand the answer, because that was very complicated.
I did answer your question. It's listening to where people struggle at, that you can produce or release the type of software, which I talk about the Microsoft person. He does Chrome extensions. That's software as a service. He writes software Chrome extensions, and he monetizes it. So like,
all right.
It's
for the lay person who doesn't have the ability to write code.
I told you about that too. I don't write code. I found a third-party software that offers SaaS as a service, and I throw in my other product services on top of it, and I wrote it my own. That's how you get into SaaS. You got to be in the technology space where people are building and creating these things. Like the platform I'm on.
Yeah, how did you find it?
I found it on accident because I was struggling with my own real estate business with the CRM, and somebody did a presentation for us, and like, okay, I'm diving down this road because I know the struggle and pain that I had when I needed it. So I know I can offer that to even hundreds of thousands of people. I know I can help facilitate that same issue that I had. So that was it was finding a pain point. And I had the same pain point when I saw it. I'm like, okay, this is it. And I was like, I'm not a coder or nothing. I'm pretty tech savvy, but that's because I grew up in the 90s. Those that transition were, and this is no offense to, because I know Charles is a little bit older than me, and I don't know how old you are than Charles, Raphael, but there's us people, Gen millennials, they have the advantage where we grew up when everything transitioned. Like I remember people in high, when I went to high school, they barely started getting phones, and my wife was 2 years younger than me. Like everybody had a phone, so like my family was a little bit poorer, and they're like, hey, if you need a cell phone, just ask the person next to you. And it was always a joke my parents used to tell me, because like everybody had a phone around me, but I never had a phone until I turned 18. So like I saw the transition from typewriters, doing reports in school with typewriters, to computers and printing it out. So like I saw that transition happen. So we have a little leverage, and I think even younger people than me, they have that leverage too, because they grew up around iPads and tablets and iPhones and all this stuff that technology. Where now like kids in China are coding. They have the leverage of all that experience and learning at a young age that they can really harness and find different opportunities out there.
For the record, Raphael is my father. Double my age, man. Hey, check out this shirt, Raphael. I got this from the Real Black Wall Street. Like, isn't that fire?
I see it. It's nice. I can't with this guy. I can't.
Yeah, I got this from the Real Black Wall Street. You can't be about Black wealth if you've never been to Black Wall Street. So,
when did you get that?
I got this when I went down there for, I think.
That was a while back, right?
I went there for Henry's event, and I had the opportunity to either fly into Fayetteville or fly into Tulsa and drive into Fayetteville. And quite honestly, it was about an hour drive to drive into Arkansas. But I was like, you know what? If I fly into Tulsa, I can see Black Wall Street. And so when I was out there, I went and saw Black Wall Street, but I also saw the first Walmart. So both, what's interesting is like, I'm a fan of business. Mm-hmm. So I went to see Black Wall Street and see the first Walmart, both business. I'm not over here like black, blackity, black. I'm just like wealth. So if they had a Walmart shirt out, I bought that too. They had a store, but it was closed when I was there.
Yeah, I remember you took a picture with a plaque or something, right? Black Wall Street.
I took a picture in front of the plaque at Black Wall Street, and I took a picture in front of the store at Walmart.
Right. Walmart. That guy built something. And I saw you. You saw a post. You posted an excerpt from a new book you found, Buying Disney's World.
I was gonna say, I was trying to keep that on the low, but yeah, I just shared that with Dan because I think Dan will get a lot of value out of it. I'm on chapter 4 right now, and interestingly enough, I saw it posted by John Delia, and John Delia is a boss, and then I saw John reference Tyron McDaniel, who he said referred him to it, and I think I might have seen maybe the Monopoly Bros shared it, and so. It just talks about how he acquired all the land for Disney World, but it also kind of talks about his whole path of how he opened up Disneyland, and then he saw how Disneyland turned into like this great area, but the area around it is very ghetto. And if you've ever been to Disneyland, like it's not that lit. Like liquor stores, motels, like there is some nice stuff around there, but there's also some ghetto around there. And I think it's improved over time. But like when it first opened up, it wasn't that great. And so he was like, you know what? This next time, I don't want that to happen. He said, I don't just want the land for the park. I want the land around it. And so I just think it's cool to see how his business and his mind evolved. And I've already taken some gems from there. He was talking about how the only way to really understand if like, I want to get the direct quote, but essentially he was saying like the only way to understand if like your idea is lucrative is to take it to market.
Yeah, I saw you said there's really only one way to find out how he would fare. He had to jump into the marketplace and see what happened.
Right. And so he was always taking risks and he wasn't always rich. And so they talk about how like when he was building his business, he was scraping by. He was like spending more money than he had to invest into his projects. And then certain things started to take off and they had some success in other areas and that funded other things that they were doing. And then also just like the whole Mickey Mouse concept, like I watched a documentary on Walt Disney a while back, and they kind of said like he had tried to acquire another character before that. I don't know what the character was, but he tried to acquire another character, and I guess it didn't work out, or maybe he even launched it and it didn't work out. But then he like stumbled upon Mickey Mouse, and so a lot of this is luck, y'all. Like as crazy as it sounds, like a lot of it is luck, but you got to give yourself a lot of opportunities to get lucky. You can't do that if you're not putting a lot of things out there. And so even with me taking my podcast and breaking them down into 5 different clips per episode, I'm like, you know what? One of these is going to go viral. And that virality is going to blow this channel up. So I'm going to give myself 20 opportunities to go viral instead of just 1 per episode. And that's kind of what happens. Also, shout out to you guys who are subscribing to the channel. We got 4,700 subscribers and we're really close to 5,000. I remember when we were at 3.9 and we're scratching to get to 4. Another thing that happens is as you grow, your growth accelerates. And so it's a lot easier. It's a lot more difficult to get that first 1,000 subscribers than it is to go from 4 to 5 or to go from 5 to 6 or from 5 to 10. And so once we grow, we're going to continue to accelerate that growth. But yeah, amazing book. And, once it gets fall and it starts getting dark, I start reading more. And I'm trying to binge because I know during the summer, I don't really read that much. And I need to get my knowledge up so I can get my advantage. My knowledge is my advantage. The books that I read give me that knowledge. And I've been kind of feeling like I was at a disadvantage for a little bit because people were starting to read the books that I've read. And I was like, I need to get back in the lab.
But wait, let me ask you real quick. You said when he did the Disneyland originally, the area around it never like jumped off. Why do you like based on what he talked about in the book or your own personal opinions? What do you think that is?
I think it's because, well, part of it is people knew that he had something, but I don't think people had the same attitude of excellence that he had. They just wanted to make some money. And so I think this happens with a lot of things. Probably happens with options courses. Is you launch this options course, and then everybody else is like, well, shoot, I got an options course. I got an options course. I got an options course. And they just start gathering around and kind of like polluting the community. And so one thing that Dan has done is he's held his idea close to the chest. He won't tell you how to do what he did. And he's supposed to do that. I think sometimes as Black people, we be too giving and too sharing. And by sharing so much, we lose. Anybody else would be like, yeah, all you got to do is go here, here, here. And next thing you know, you got 50 hive minds out there. And now hive mind ain't hive minded. And so I was on a Clubhouse call today, and it was people were talking about Black issues. And I looked in the crowd and I saw Grant Cardone there. And I was like, it's kind of weird that we're like talking about all the things that Black people like, the stuff that we would like have, like, oh, Black people can't work together and Black people can't do this. And it's just like we're having this conversation on a public platform in front of everybody instead of taking those issues in house and discussing them, kind of like the Kanye Kyrie thing. Kanye maybe has some valid points. Maybe you don't got to share them all over the fucking internet like that. Just maybe you don't put your shit on Twitter. Maybe you just like share it amongst your people on the low so they can learn the information, which is what you want, but you don't put a target on your back. And so I would say like that's kind of what happened. And honestly, that's why when Disney bought up Disney World, they went on the low. They did a lot of things to make sure people did not know why. Because if they knew, they were going to hike up the prices and it would make less money or they'll be gouged. And so you got to do stuff on the low. You got to real G's move in silence. Real wealth builders move in silence. Like if you really like, that's where I'm at now. That's why I kind of didn't want to share the excerpt from that book. And I'm kind of mad I did that, but very important to be silent. And I think once you get there, you're less inclined to want to share as much. Like I don't really tell a lot of people certain things. Other people tell people things about me. But now I got to make sure that I don't tell even the people who might potentially tell people. Just got to keep everything on the low.
So a lot of I don't mind sharing. Like I tell people that it's a third party platform and stuff like that, but it's people won't take action. I mean, there could be 1,000 people that listen to this call and only 10 to 20 will actually like, oh, what is he talking about? Let me dig a little bit deeper. And other people just they don't care to look to do due diligence. So sometimes, like for me, like there's some things that I still keep to myself and knowledge that I've learned over time. But a lot of it, like I freely give because it's already out there in general. And me saying it might stick into somebody's head that one time. And like so, there's a lot of things like I say this a lot is that some things you're not ready to hear at that time. And it just goes over your head. You don't have the understanding to comprehend what you just heard, but you might come back to that same conversation, or you might hear it in a different way a year later. And like, okay, I heard that somewhere else on that podcast, and it makes sense now. And that's where like understanding comes in when you hear it a couple times.
Yeah. Now, Danny, you're a part of the Talk Capital Mastermind.
Yes,
for
yes,
a while
I am.
now. I know you. One thing I tell everybody is like Daniel. You don't have to worry about Daniel taking action. Like say something, and Daniel's doing it before he gets off the call. Almost like forget it. Charles, you had a tweet. You were saying y'all be hearing information and waiting for it to make sense. The fact that they are successful in saying it makes sense. And boy, Daniel's a believer.
That's very true. And I think that's why like people will hear somebody successful say something and they'll reject it because it doesn't make sense to them. But it's not going to make sense to them if they're still in the ground. If I'm telling you that there's clouds up here and what the top of the clouds look like, and you're on the ground, you're gonna be like, that doesn't make sense to me. But you ain't in the plane to even have that opinion that the clouds don't look like that. Like it's frustrating to me because like I'm in the business of homes and I still got to debate with people who bought one home in their life, two homes in their life.
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense to me. And so I think that tweet was in reference to LaRussell and the pay what you want model. And I'm not sure if I got pushback from that, but I think that what I was trying to explain to people is it might be a completely foreign concept, paying what you want. But all you got to do is look at what is achieved using that strategy to know that it's a solid strategy. You don't have to understand it. And it's something that I've said before, even with following what Chris does. Like, you don't have to understand what Chris is doing, and you won't understand what Chris is doing until you're doing what Chris is doing. And that's why Dan is ahead and why Dan doesn't have a college education, but you would think he does. Why? Because he takes action. When you take action, you learn. And you learn at a lot deeper level than somebody who just reads books. You learn at a lot deeper level than somebody who just like is passive and is just waiting. Because the action is going to refine you, it's going to grow you, and it's going to make you better. And so much so that he is actually further advanced than a lot of people through using VAs and automating certain things and the different things that they have Hivemind do. And so you don't understand what people are saying until you do what they're doing. And stop expecting to understand before you take action. Just take action, and then you're going to get that understanding.
100%. 100%. A lot of things that I've done, I'm just like following blindly. I mean, I'm not a reader. I joined the Todd Capital Book Club just to hear the gems. And like I love hopping in those conversations because like every good book has a lot of like gems in there, but you can summarize like the synopsis of the book into a good paragraph, and somebody that really delve into the book is gonna tell you that. So I'm like, I read the book already.
Well, that's a life hack I never heard before. Join the book club and get the highlights from the people that actually read the book. That's a good one.
That's why I love Bruce.
Besides that, like, what kind of value have you gotten out of the mastermind? And also, give us an example of something that didn't necessarily make sense to you, that you didn't understand at first, but you implemented it anyway, and it paid off.
A lot. So podcasting was a big one. I knew we needed to do it, but I really didn't understand why. And Charles was just like, podcast, go create content, 10x, those two things. Go create it and 10x it. I'm like, all right, create it and 10x it. We launched it September. We're 260 episodes in. Last September,
10x.
Yeah,
they've 10x. They said they're dropping an episode a day.
We're dropping an episode a day right now.
You know how big you grow when you do something every single day? Like, that's the hack. Do it every single day. Exercise every single day. Read every single day. Promote your business every single day.
Every single day. And a lot of people, like, when I first started on, I started like asking for the sale every day. But now I'm like, there's some posting every day. I'm asking for the sale. I don't even care. It's part of we had a challenge probably about a year ago. Make 10 posts a day. Now we got 10 posts a day, 4 reels a day, and it's a lot. There's a lot going on, and it's just building that footprint. If anybody here wants to see what Hivemind's doing, literally Google Hivemind or go to your favorite social media platform and search Hivemind CRM. I guarantee you're going to find something there because I put it there on purpose. It was there intently, and me and Anthony talk like putting out a wave of content. Like, there's so much Hivemind content out there that when you find me, I hope you're amazed, because there's a lot of hard work that went into that. Like, we're talking to somebody and like, oh, you need to get like a social media manager and editor and start editing all your episodes and getting micro content. I'm like, man, I've been doing that for like 8 months already. I've had 2 full-time editors, a social media manager. Like, I don't do all that content that you see. If you go to Twitter, Daniel Hivemind, right here, I don't do that content. That's my team doing that. So it's a constant like, and this is where I learned from Charles, just be out there 100%. Who cares? I don't care what anybody's opinions say. I've had my family like, "Hey, you post too much." I'm like, I don't care. you're not my client.
It's like just tell them like $1 million in revenue.
Yeah.
$1 million in revenue.
Yeah. And like I said, it's just doing it over and over again, not even asking questions, just do it out. So like 10 up they made the contest I'm posting 10 times a day. I've been doing 10 times a day for a year now. Like, oh, do a reel a day. Well, now I got a database of probably 250 reels that go out 3 a day, 4 a day. I just recycle and rinse and repeat, recycle, rinse, repeat. Some stuff hits, some stuff doesn't. I don't even care. I just know, and I hashtag everything. If you go to hashtag Hivemind CRM, there's probably like 4,000, 5,000 posts. That's all me.
And I would say that what's important is a lot of us are in catch-up mode, but we don't have catch-up urgency. And so we'll always talk about like, oh, we're so far behind, but you're not moving like that.
Yeah,
I don't see it. You chilling. You don't like if you're in a race and you're behind, would you just be jogging? No, you're gonna be sprinting. You're gonna be hustling. You're gonna be trying to do whatever you gotta do to get ahead. And so there's some people who see the wealth gap or whatever gap, and they point at it, and then like wealth gap. I guess we're gonna vote. And then there's other people who they see the wealth gap, and they're like, I just gotta work 10 times harder to close the gap. But you can work 10 times harder. It's possible to do it. It's possible, and it's an admirable thing to actually endeavor in. Like, people respect people who work. They don't respect people who just talk and who come on the internet and complain and argue. We respect the workers. Another thing that I noticed in the one thing I want to say is another thing that I noticed in the Disney book is he had failed ventures. They opened up like a bowling alley and it flopped. And this is after they opened up Disneyland. They were trying to find something else that could pop hard. And so they're like, all right, well, bowling's hot right now. Let's open up a bowling alley. The bowling alley flopped. They ended up selling it. And what I realized is people don't remember your failed ventures, but they do remember your successes. And your successes are going to make you. And it's okay to have failed ventures along with your successes. And so I just thought that was really interesting because he was already successful, created movies, and he still had a flop. He still failed at something and lost money in it. But a lot of people, they get so caught up in like the potentiality of failure that they never try anything. They just never do it. They're like, I don't want it to fail. But like, what if that failed? What if he even learned something from his successes? He learned that his success, he didn't improve enough. Like, that is fire to me.
One thing I'll say too is that I think a lot of early entrepreneurs, they think of it as a business. They think of it as an employee and not as a business, because they think if I work 40 hours, I should get 40 hours of pay. And in entrepreneurship, it's not like that. You have to do weeks, hours upon hours, and days upon days without getting paid, and just hope you get paid. And a lot of people, and it's a trend. You have to like think of it as a long-term play. So, if you're in a solopreneur or if you're an employee that wants to venture into entrepreneurship, when you work 40 hours, you're not going to make whatever your rate per hour is once you turn to entrepreneurship. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. You have to work maybe weeks, years and years, get paid nothing, reinvest all your capital, reinvest your capital, just to build that business to where there comes to a point where you grow that business so big where you get paid for all that time you worked previously without getting paid. And it snowballs and snowballs and snowballs into a giant wealth thing that you created. But you had to like flip your mindset on that if I work 40 hours, I'm not going to make 40 hours of pay right now. I'm going to get 200 hours of pay 5 years from now. And I have to realize that my pockets ain't just caught up yet. So you got to put in that work early on, over and over again, till that pays off. And a lot of people aren't willing to put in the work.
Now, you said, Charles, that you shared a clip. I'm not sure where it's from, but you said something about we struggle and then teach our children to struggle.
Man, one of the best podcasts out right now that I really listen to a lot is the Secret to Success podcast with Eric Thomas. It used to be very terrible, and now it's high quality content. The episodes are shorter and more to the point. Before, they would just ramble. about stuff that really wasn't motivational, wasn't actually helpful. And they would just talk about like stupid stuff. Like, I was on the plane and they didn't give me peanuts, fair or foul. It's like, and they would talk about it for like 20 minutes. And I was like, I'm not listening to this stuff. Or I would like scroll past all that nonsense. But now they cut out the nonsense. I think they took some feedback and they're like, bro, they don't want to hear that stuff. And Jamal was on there, and Jamal is a very successful real estate investor. What was funny is he made a point that like when he was working as a cop and he was making money as a real estate investor, he bought like this huge house. And he said that like people thought he was like the cop from Training Day. Like they thought he was like taking money from folks, which is interesting because sometimes when like you get money, people assume the worst. Like they assume like, oh, you must be selling drugs. Like, man, I fly so much, my bags get checked so much. I'm like, this is crazy. I was like, why would somebody be like trying to like smuggle drugs to the airport? People do that stuff. I don't know. But so he was talking about how as a culture, what happens is people, they do everything for themselves. And so they work that job, they get that promotion so that they can get that house. And they struggle throughout the whole process. And then what happens is they have kids and they teach them that same process to work hard, to struggle, and to start from the ground up and to do that kind of stuff. And he was saying like with him and what he's building is he's building something that his kids can walk into. He always says that he's going to take better care of his family when he's in the grave than people do when they're alive, because he's setting it up that way. And so another thing is he's always talking about like providing for like his grandkids and for the kids that he won't ever see. He's like, I want to provide for the family that I never see. And so that was just kind of the thing that I took from that. But it was just somebody else saying what I've been saying for the longest time is we don't have to make our kids struggle. My son's not going to struggle. He already has assets. My son is good. He got a house and he got 5 figures in a stock market account. Some of those stocks aren't doing that well, specifically Disney. Disney's doing terrible. And we're talking about Disney so much on this show, but Disney dropped like 7% today. It was like their worst years, their worst one-day loss in like a decade or something pretty significant. But they're going to bounce back because it's a quality company and it's just going to take time. I think their business is still feeling the brunt of COVID. And I think that once they get past that, they'll start to kind of take off and get some more movies into theaters and things like that. But it was important to me because he said that. But another thing that he said that either you're going to bring up or you didn't bring up is he was talking about how he didn't do all of these things to get this huge house so that his wife could clean it. I should have wore my shirt. I actually have that shirt. It's downstairs somewhere. I was just at my mom's house and we were cleaning out some of the clothes that I left there. She's like, oh, you might do an event with Hivemind. You'll need this shirt. I didn't. It's downstairs. But he was just talking about how like he didn't do all these things so his wife could like clean the house, so she could cook and she could do all these different things that people think traditional women need to do. And it was funny because I was having a conversation with somebody and I told them, I was like, my wife doesn't work, but I have a housekeeper. And they're like, well, why do you have a housekeeper if your wife doesn't work? And I was like, because I don't want my wife to be a housekeeper. Like, I want my wife to be a successful business owner. I want my wife to do amazing things. And it's just interesting the society that we live in because we're constantly having this debate online of if your wife should work or not work, and if it's her responsibility to cook and clean and do all these things like that. And I just never saw that as like a wife responsibility. As crazy as that sounds. And a lot of people say, well, that's what my mom did. Well, that's not what my mom did. And so if we're just going to use our family as the foundation, then, you know, we can go tit for tat on that. I think what we need to do is we need to look at the environment as it exists now and come up with a plan for us to win together. And I don't think we're doing that. I think we're just coming up with a plan to take advantage of one another, to get the most for the least. And we expect that to be lucrative. And I don't think it worked. Actually, I know it doesn't work because if it did work, folks would be married and happy. But they're not. They're on the internet arguing with each other. So that's that.
So
I'm really glad you shared that because I showed it to my wife too, because I know our wives feel the blunt of housekeeping and taking care of the kids and all that stuff. And I when you shared that video, I'm like, I want this for you.
That's cool. Well, let me ask you, then back to the original tweet. about we struggle and then teach our children to struggle. Like how are you like trying to break that cycle? Because you say you struggled when you were growing up too. Like you were poor. Have you really given any thought to it, like intentionally, or no?
Are you talking to me?
The Daniel, like I know you
Um,
got kids.
so a lot of, and this is where I talk about this all the time. Like I'm a second generation immigrant. My dad crossed the border to Mexico, and my dad taught me when I was younger. He's like, work with your head versus your back because you can only work so long with your back. And my dad was testament to that because he really didn't know any other way how to make money. Like he has like a second grade education. Like my dad didn't know how to read English till my brothers went to school. Like he didn't know how to write. He didn't know how to write in English at all. So it was one of those things where like you have to take the privilege, even if it was a struggle privilege, you take that privilege and you build upon it because a lot of people people grew up with two families in the household or single moms. Like you either take that internally and say boohoo me and my family, or you take that as gasoline and you pour it on and like I'm gonna make a better future for my family. So it goes one or the other way. Like I think Anthony talked about this too. Is like you either have excuses or I forget his quote. Man, it was such a good one. It's like either succeed or you have excuses. You can't have both. And I think that was the quote. So there's a lot of leverage you get by everybody has their story. Like everybody has struggled at some point. You either harness that and build a better future for your family, or you don't.
Right. Now you touched on it a little while ago, Charles, and you talk about this all the time. But you had a tweet where you said, "Build one successful company together, and then once you are all rich, branch off and do your own thing."
Yeah, I was referring to the PayPal Mafia, and I saw this diagram of like the PayPal Mafia and what they all own now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I could find it because a lot of the things that they own now are things that people really know about. And I think what's interesting is it's, I think for some reason, everybody wants to be selfish and hoard all the money to themselves. And so they're like, I'm the billionaire. And I think it's because what we see is like an individual billionaire. We see like one billionaire, Jay-Z, one billionaire, Kanye West, one billionaire, LeBron James, and we don't realize that there's people out there building companies and everybody becoming a billionaire. He's a billionaire just because he's a CFO or something. He's a billionaire just because he's a founding partner, not the founder, the founding partner, or an early employee who got equity in the company. And they're very wealthy. And so what's interesting is it's possible to build one project and everybody become rich. And we take the employee mindset into everything because that's all we've ever known. All we've ever known was mine. And that's why the word mine probably ain't going to be used in my household very much. Everything is ours. Everything. Because we're building this together. We're doing this together. And I was talking to somebody, and it was actually on the mastermind call this morning. And we were talking about how Jay-Z said that why do Jews have all the money in America? And he said credit. And I think he said credit because he didn't want to get really hated on by the Jewish community. But the real reason why they have all the money in America is because they work together. They work as a union. They work as a family. And I always tell about the last two businesses that I worked for were both family businesses. Actually, the last three companies that I worked for were family businesses, and one of them was Black. And maybe that's the reason why they were effing successful, because they worked as a family and as a unit too. Where the dad worked there, the mom worked there, the kids worked there. It's not just a white or Black thing. These are principles that translate whatever you look like. Working together makes you succeed. And then once you're successful, you can branch off and do your own thing. But get successful first. Get rich first. Like, get rich before you try to be an individual. We're out here being individuals and wonder why we're struggling. Like,
Yeah, and Danny, you don't run that Hivemind all by yourself. You had a co-founder. I mean, was Anthony a part of it as soon as you started, or did he come on a little later?
No, he's always been at the start of it because there's two different sides of the business. There's a software side of the back end side of actually doing the outreach, and then you have the sales side that actually converts to sales. So it's leveraging 100% of it. One thing I want to say about Charles's thing is that I watched a documentary about Kevin Hart a while back, and he has all of his friends that work with him. Even like his best friend, is his workout trainer. So he's on payroll to have him keep him healthy, and keep him in the gym. So he goes to the gym at the same time every day, where he has his friend on payroll. One of the big things that I'm doing with I'm getting to a point right now where we're hiring, and I'm looking to hire on my family. And that's a big thing right now. It's just to build up that unit 100%, because your family wants to see you succeed for the most part, and you only need one business to succeed. So if one family member, and this is something, I don't know if my brothers will ever hear this episode, but like when COVID hit, two of my brothers were up for, if you don't get a shot, you might get laid off. And me in my head, I'm like, okay, I have to create positions for them to get them on payroll now, because I have the opportunity to, and I have a business to create wealth. And in my head, I'm like, okay, where can I position them? And like right now, I had a conversation with my brother where he's like, I'm ready to quit. I'm like, okay, well, give me some time, and I'll find you a position to help out in the family business, because that's what it is.
But the crazy part about it is when you do that, I think your business will grow.
Oh, 100%.
So it's not even an L. It's not even like charity. It's really like, I don't know.
There's people that live together for such a long time. They're in sync in their patterns. Like they do the same things. They talk the same. They have the same accent. Like when you live together for so long, you harmonize.
Mm-hmm. And I would say what's interesting also is that like your brother has way more value than you can pay him in salary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, would you rather that value go to somebody else's business or to your family business? It's kind of like when I went to Atlanta, when I stayed with my grandma, I paid her to stay there. I was like, I'm going to give you this money because I'd rather give you this money than give Airbnb the money or the hotel the money. The money got to get spent either way. And then you can use this money to either make your life more comfortable, or you can use it to pay down your mortgage. And if I go there and I stay there every other month and I'm making a payment on her mortgage, I'm going to help her get that down. But I'm also creating value for our family. Like there's no loss when you do it this way. And so I share that because the same principle of bringing your family's labor into your business is just like what happens when you pay rent to a landlord. You can either pay rent to your family or avoid paying rent to somebody else's family. You can either make your family wealthier or you can make somebody else's family wealthier. By you going and working for somebody else's business, you might think that you're winning in the short term, and it might feel great because you don't work for your brother, but you're just making somebody else richer. That's why they do it. The Chinese people don't work for other people. They don't hire other people either, because if they are paying somebody a wage, they rather pay it to somebody who is in their culture. And so it's like you also want to kind of look at that too when you're hiring people. It's like, are you making an investment back into your culture, or are you using the money from your business to build up somebody else's culture? And so it's very interesting. But I never made the correlation or the connection between like working at a business for your family and renting. But I think there's a connection there.
Well, I mean, it's a way to, like, you already, like you said, it's a way you're going to spend that money because you need to fill that position no matter what. So if you're going to spend that money, spend it to where it's going to benefit your family versus another person. And I think I met an entrepreneur. He was already well off, and he started a restaurant business for the whole purpose of employing his sister, just to pass off that tax burden. Like, he was losing money starting a restaurant, but it was passing off that tax burden and supporting a whole nother group of people, including his sister, in that business. And there's a whole lot of benefit to that, just in general. You as the entrepreneur, you get the tax write-offs, and then you're actually feeding your family directly by supporting them through a job and something that they love doing. Because here's the thing, not everybody is that 1% entrepreneur, that leader that's going to take the business to the next level. Not everybody's like that. There's always need and space for a supporting role, and it's not even a bad thing.
Right. And it's like Charles said a long time ago on one of the older episodes that your job will save you, your business will save the community.
Mhm.
And going back to when you're talking about the PayPal mafia and like people getting rich being sometimes even an early employee, obvious examples is like Paul Allen with Microsoft. There were employees of Microsoft that got really rich just being early employees. Paul Allen, to this day, most people still don't know who Paul Allen is. This dude is so rich he bought like 3 sports teams.
And he wasn't Bill Gates. We're like, man, F being Paul Allen, I'm gonna be Bill Gates. And we don't be neither.
Yeah. And like
And that-
you being Bill Gates, you got to deal with the stress that Bill Gates got to deal with. It might
Right.
be better off being number 2.
Everybody knows who Bill Gates is, even though he dresses low key and everything. Pretty much, he's the one that ended up on the magazine covers or whatever, certain magazines.
The
But
current CEO of Google is a billionaire, but he didn't found Google. He worked his way up the ranks. He was just like a high level of executive. And this is what's interesting about being surrounded by wealth is if your kids go to a school where there's like wealthy kids or well-to-do kids, you're going to realize everybody ain't the CEO. It's like this dude's the vice president of this. This dude's the CFO of this. This dude is the treasurer here. And you start to realize that like you can get money all kind of ways. You don't got to be the guy at the top. And so when somebody gives you the opportunity to participate in something, you'll value the opportunity of just being a part of something that's building, as opposed to thinking you have to be the sole and only builder and the head NIC. Yep. We feel like that's the only way that you can do it is by being that generational talent, that generational something. No, just become useful to something that's useful. Become a part of something. And when I was in Atlanta, and I had to stop because I was in Atlanta and I drove past a school called the Greater Atlanta Christian School, and tuition there is $26,000 a year. $26,000. $26,000 a year. But do you think that everybody there is a CEO? No, they probably own their own independent business, their own small business. We aren't exposed to wealth, so we don't know that wealth comes in various ways, not just the most obvious ways that we see. And it's frustrating because then when you try to get people to be a part of it, they're like, I'm telling you, every single person that is doing options, I told them I would partner with them. And they're like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. And I was like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. We all want to be the boss. The boss sucks. I was getting yelled at for things I wasn't even involved with. I was getting people calling me names for things that people who were doing who were just a part of the organization. They're like, oh, you didn't know that he was on a group chat call and he called us the B word. Oh man, I'm over here on a conference call apologizing to people that I don't even know just because they're affiliated with what we were doing. And that's what happens when you're the boss. I honestly like being a number 2 guy. I told my wife, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start dedicating parts of my day to helping you build your business, marketing and promoting your business. I don't need to be the person at the top. I just want to be associated. And I've always been that person. I only step into the top role when it needs to be done. Yeah. This is Raphael's podcast. I'm number 2. I'm Scottie Pippen around here. And I still show up like it's my shit. I don't half-step it. I don't like, oh, I can't do that. Blah, blah, blah. No, I show up and I give value and it's not my shit. And we need more people who take on that mentality. Being a part of something great makes you great. You don't have to be the person who built it. You don't have to be the person at the top.
I really want to correlate this to real estate. So, and business in general, a lot of people that they want to carry like the sales hat and the marketing hat. No one could be the best salesman like me, but business gets easier the bigger you get because you pass on roles and responsibility and it shares the burden. So think of this like people that love like multi-million-dollar deals and multi-family deals. There's 5 bosses that make that deal happen. There's a private money guy. There's a person that found the deal. There's people that is going to manage the deal, and there's going to be there's going to be like multi different facets that are going to a part of that transaction that make it work. And real people that do big business, they work as a team and they do it. They harness their skill. So Raph has a skill. Charles has a skill. I have a skill. We all don't have the same skill per se, but if we all group together, we can do something big, and do something big and at a big scale. We can do.
That's why I'm going to work at Hivemind, man. Hire me. I want to work at Hivemind.
And this is where and
you don't got to pay me. I'm not saying pay me a salary. I just want to be associated because I know what it's like.
I talked to Anthony about this, and like, for everybody that hangs around us, we're gonna find a position for you because we want you to be a part of it. Because you guys, I mean, even Charles, like you helped mold us to the point where we're at. Where I don't know exactly where we're gonna fit you in, but we're gonna fit you in somewhere. We'll figure it out. And this is where like, and this is where like, I don't know where I'm gonna put my brother in, but I need to like have that conversation and figure out where his skill set is, and like, okay, I have this position coming up, and when I need you full time, or you can quit your job and I can put you on salary, this is where you're gonna be because I already know where your skill is at. So it's leveraging your superpower, leveraging your skill that you might have honed in working at the job for 10 years. You might have honed in, went to college, and you went to school for that you never even leveraged it again. Somewhere out there, somebody needs you to fill that position that you're good at, that you love doing. And there's a quote, like if you do something you love at the job you love, it's not work anymore. It's enjoyment. You're producing good energy because it's something you enjoy doing.
Good people who won't rape you are essential to growing a business. And what's interesting is we always talk about like the rich employees of these companies, and we don't realize that a lot of those people, what they do to get rich as an employee is they forego a higher salary at a place that would pay them that's more established. And they have a big long-term vision. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is to fill that gap, they give them equity. And they said, we're going to give you shares of the company. They ain't worth much now, but when the company goes public, you're going to be paid. And so you just got to see the vision. And a lot of times what happens is people will see like a young business and they send them invoices, or they want to like downplay them because they can't pay them big bucks in the beginning. Like, oh, I'm not going to work for you for $40K when I can make blah, blah, blah. Y'all broke. Y'all can't pay. Yeah, we are broke. It's a brand new business. Like, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have the ability to grow into something great. And that's why people like Raphael are great. People like Bruce Hill are great. Bruce Hill helps me, and I've paid him sometimes. I haven't paid him other times, but he still shows up and helps. And it helps build what this is. And he's going to be rewarded for that. Yeah. You'll be rewarded for your loyalty. People, good people, won't let you help them build something and then just give you the big F you once it blows up. And I think that Daniel and Anthony are good people. But if they ain't, I'm going to have to sue them. Well, if I give them all this value up and it turns to $1 billion company and they don't pay me, I'm going to be like, hey, fam, I'm going to have to sue you, man. But they're going to be so rich, it won't matter. They can pay me.
No, I really want to hit on this because it's such a main point. And this is where, like, if you have a skill, you can go to the business world, and if you provide that skill into a already established business, you can amplify that business where you're building in your own equity into an established business. That's a strategy that people that do high level business, they'll go into business and consult for equity. They'll earn in their equity. They'll bring in their value add and take that business.
Yep.
If I increase your revenue $5 million, I'll take $1 million of that on the bottom line, not the top. Bottom line. And it could be in a really established business, and there's people out there that do that. They'll go out there and put their skill on the line. I have a skill that I can put and accelerate your business. Let me earn some equity for this and take your business to the next level.
Like, I don't want a salary. I only want to get paid based on the value that I add.
Yep, 100%. And if you're a boss and you know the value you add to a business, that's not even a bad play. And the owner of that business is going to see it as a value add because now their business might 5X and they only got to pay this guy 1X. And I'll do that deal all day long.
Yep. So it's millionaires sending their kids to a great school off of that strategy, and their kid knows that exists, and they know they don't got to be LeBron James. Give your kids the ability to know they don't got to be LeBron James to get rich.
I saw a tweet the other day about how the 10-year-old got a concussion playing football, and I'm like, I'm taking my kid to the golf course.
I think Nolan's going to be on the swim team.
You know, and it's crazy as it sounds. Like I'm not being facetious or like come on, man. There's better things out there. There's safer things out there. You don't have to be like I hate the mentality like basketball and sports is the only way to get out of the hood. Like, come on, man. There's other ways to do it, and there's more effective ways of amplification of your superpower to get to where you want to go.
There's ways that if you put your energy into them, wouldn't just benefit you, but they benefit the community.
Yeah. So I heard this recently about business is that everybody thinks your business is forever. Think of your business as the exit strategy because times change. People thought Blockbuster would be around forever, but they eventually they didn't adapt and change, and they never sold. People still holding Blockbuster stock took it to zero. You know, so people that are buying and holding, you got to think of your business as a temporary thing that you have to pass down equity, pass down CEO positions. I don't want to be the CEO of Hivemind forever. I want to hire a CEO. I want to be the owner of it, but I want to be the CEO. And like I said, I'm now like Hivemind was like a thing like I'm gonna take it forever, but like now I'm like thinking, okay, what's the exit strategy? I'm not gonna do this forever. I don't want to do this forever. This is something that's my one success is gonna take me to the next level, but what's my exit strategy? Because it's not forever.
The crazy thing about you guys' business is since it's based on MRR, you actually could value your company at a multi-million-dollar company and sell it.
Yep.
So it's like that's interesting. But I was in downtown LA in the arts district, and the arts district is basically just like old warehouses. They converted into lofts and restaurants and whatnot. So I was talking to the tattoo guy, and he told me that the guy who owns the building that he's in owns all the buildings out there. So what do you think my question was? What did he do to get that stuff? Apparently he had a toy manufacturing company or a toy importing company because that used to be like the toy district in downtown LA. And he used all the money that he made with toys and he started buying up the properties that were there. And he just held on to them. And so that's why write-off culture isn't good, because as you're bringing in money, you do need to be putting into something that's permanent because you never know when that industry is going to shift. And I'm pretty sure he got put out of business by maybe Toys R Us or whatever might have popped up. And it's like you always have to be kind of knowing that you could go out of business at one point. One thing that I noticed when I was working in banking is the people that had the most money in their accounts were the entrepreneurs. And they just had reserves because they knew it was uncertain. And so we're talking about the uncertainty of your income. Well, part of that is the reason why they're wealthy is because they know their income's uncertain, so they got to keep cash. One of the reasons why I have dividends and I have cash is because I know it ain't going to last forever. Mm-hmm. And so when you step into business, understand that it's not going to last forever. You're going to do things that create wealth because you're doing it out of necessity as opposed to doing it out of like, I hope to retire one day. Most people, they don't ever get to that retirement number, and that's why they got Social Security, because they didn't save enough. Because you can't really save enough. It's not meant for that. They don't pay you enough to save enough, because if they paid you enough to save enough, you wouldn't show up on Monday. And they got to keep you coming back. So they pay you just enough to come back on Monday.
So I tweeted about this, and like everybody doesn't understand like the time velocity of money. So like I tweeted about this on November 4th here, and it was like a big New York article about how somebody bought a building for $77,000 49 years ago, and they sold it for $26 million. And you hear that 77 to 26 million, you think like, man, that's an amazing return. I did the math and I broke it down in the tweet. It's a 10% year return on that building for holding that year over year for 50 years or 49 years. So like, yes, that 10% is a great return, but what's the stock market do? 8%. So if you
8 to 12,
8 to 12%, if you would invest that same $77,000 in the stock market, he might have got $26 million over 49 years. So it's not like he's a genius, it's just the time velocity of money. So in my tweet, I talked about like, if you can find ways to increase your ROI or yield over that 10%, he could have done that in a third of the time or a half the time, you know? And it's all about how amplification of money and time. So, and like 77, like when I saw the numbers 77 to 26 million, like I have to do the math.
Mhm.
I'm just I'm a numbers guy. So I'm like, it was like a 10.3% ROI. And I'm like, okay. I know
It's also the patience too.
Yeah, patience, 100%.
You got to have like the willingness to wait. And a lot of people don't have the willingness to wait. What they would do is they would buy it for 77, see it went to 140, like, damn, I just doubled my money. We out.
And that's stock. That's people that do stocks. So like, I got 300% ROI in 3 months. Let me just let it go. But if you were to hold those stocks, or hold that crypto or whatever that is.
I don't hold the crypto.
Don't hold the crypto. I mean, it's on sale right now. How much more on sale will it get?
It's not a sale, man. It's just going down to its true value. But we can't take the crypto.
So Daniel,
that's another conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's another conversation. You talked earlier about how podcasting has paid off for you. What would you tell like business owners or people in general about the benefits of podcasting?
I'll tell you the benefit. It's credibility, and it's like a 2-3 year play. Like when did you start Tweet Talk?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. So you really don't see results till 2-3 years into the game, and it's a long term play. I posted a video about it was from Riverside FM. They posted a video. They're on TikTok, and they're talking about that there's like 2.4 million podcasts, but 90% of them haven't hit 3 episodes. So how many podcasts are out there? So if there's 400 million listeners ready to listen to podcasts, but only 24,000 of them have produced more than 3 episodes. So you're really early on a trend just by producing content. And here's tangibly how we've made money. If you have a product or service, leverage the podcast 100%. Position your podcast as credibility for your product or service. If you don't have a product or service, find products towards your listeners' niche that you can affiliate for and monetize it that way, because you will make more money off your product or service or affiliating for a good product or service than you will ever by podcast ads. And this is the crazy part about like building your own audience. Like there's YouTubers that have millions of followers, but they only make $15,000 a month. Like I did $15,000 a month, I think in 6 months of my own business. So it's one of those things where like if you build that business and harness it through a podcast and YouTube, then you can really make a lot more money with less of an audience and make a huge growing. So and this is my case study. I had a client come in last week. He came in, found me on the podcast. He dropped over $4,000 in 2 days on products and services that I provide just because of the podcast. So in my head, I'm like, okay, that's just one client, and that's been like the one like standout client that dropped a big amount of money like that. And I'm like, this is just the beginning. I'm gonna have clients maybe next week, next month, tomorrow. They're gonna come do the same thing, and that's the power of the podcast. And it's seasoning. 2-3 years of seasoning, you're in the clouds, and you're gonna make money forever off the content. You don't have to do anything else after that point because it's still gonna season and season and season. It's just layering icing on the cake. That more business is going to come to you just because of that seasoning.
Yeah, man, so many benefits. But we're running along, so we're going to go into that a little later. But be sure to grab Podcast Star Deluxe Podcast course. Pay what you want. Link in the bio, link in the chat, link in the show notes. Get it now. We're going to wrap this up. Daniel, let them know where they can find you or where they can find Hivemind.
I am literally everywhere. If you cannot find, and I was laughing about this because somebody's like, "Oh, can I find you?" I'm like, Google's a thing. Like if you're on Podcast Along thing, you can find me on Google. Like I'm on Instagram. You search at Hivemind CRM. You search Daniel Hivemind. That's why I made my name Daniel Hivemind, because if you type that into Google, you're gonna find me. So Daniel Hivemind CRM. We're literally on Twitch, Pinterest, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. I don't even know.
Twitter.
Facebook, Twitter, like we're everywhere.
Omnipresence, man. Omnipresence.
If your favorite social media platform, just type at Hivemind CRM. We'll be there. That's the power.
There you go. There you go.
Hey guys, if you would like to receive hot leads right to your cell phone in a text message, check out hiveleads.io and you can receive the same leads we've been receiving in our campaign for 3.5 years that's made us successful in the land game. Check us out.
The show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the skip trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.1listguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.